name's Artemis, and dear God, if there aren't a lot of us in this fandom. Loads of different fucking furries, different types of furries, different varieties of oddball that inhabit this quagmire of sin we call a fandom. And I thought, I'm a non-judgemental, salty doggo bastard, and I thought I would be the best person to have a look at all of these disgusting bastards and categorize them in all their different, weird, fucked up ways, and usually put them down to 3 main categories, because I figured out that's probably the best format for these videos. You got the basics, typical canine suitors, or even just soners with different colours swapped in, mostly looking the same. They list furry as their occupation on their Facebook profile, constantly watching videos of doing fursuiters going outside and going to the mall, and secretly has wet dreams over meeting Majira. The jaded, been in this fandom far too fucking long to actually be able to leave it, seen far too much drama and disturbing porn for their own good. Fakes about hating this place with a pure riving passion, but actually loves it so much that they'll never be able to leave. The warrior picks a popular fur that they love and sticks with them wherever they go, constantly defends them whether they want to or not, always replying to their tweets, really just wants to be noticed, very easily triggered. The artist, wildly talented but entirely unable to see that themselves. Posts pictures of their art hesitantly, thinking people are going to think it's shit when they really go out of their minds about how amazing it is. Makes an okay amount of money making commissions. The not safe for work artist, pretty much the same but with a lot of added dicks. The big-time artist does art full-time, so skilled, practiced, and talented that they can smash out a masterpiece in like 30 minutes tops. They're so good that it makes beginners feel like utter shit just by looking at their art. Actually a really nice person, but their sub count and follower count really makes them really hard to approach. The hybrids, because just one species wasn't enough. Usually a canine with some small added features like feathers or wings, or maybe even they go the other end of the spectrum and mix in any species they like the look of to create a fucking monster. They don't usually understand exactly how hybrids work in nature either. Usually they think they're more original than everybody else as well. The committed, always in character, all the time, as a personal account for ever actually speaking to someone, not as their sonar. Not entirely sure whether they're otherkin or not, still trying to figure that shit out. Always making animal noises and sadly collecting more creeps on their followers list than they really deserve to. The original species abides by a strict set of rules about how they're supposed to look and act. Makes a lot of in-jokes that only other people who have a species like that are going to get. Tends to think it's a lot bigger than it actually is. Spends a fuck ton on adopts and shit like that. The beginner fursuit maker carves a metric fuck ton of foam like every goddamn day. Will eventually be talented enough to take on commissions, but isn't quite at that level yet. Still tries to take on commissions. Puts an insane amount of art and work into their process, and really will develop, and will probably be living on this craft within 6 years or so. The big-time fursuit maker barely has to post to get a giant following. Suit whips fucking everywhere. Every single one of them with 200 comments of, "Oh my god, it's so cute, it looks amazing, I really want to commission you." Totally gave up trying to put anything personal on this account a long time ago, making mad money. The mid-level fursuit makers, entirely as talented as the big-time ones, but without all of the acclaim and fuckboy fanboys. Posts a lot of shit about their personal stuff that they really regret after the fact and think they really should keep it to their personal account. Post suit whips that look fucking amazing, yet no one ever seems to follow until they do a giveaway, which always blows up. The anti-fur is only really a furry by name. Doesn't seem to like the community, the suits, mixing in with people, YouTube, any of it. Only really seems to be here for the open stance on relationships and polyamory. Despite all of this, they have a massive collection of commissioned art. About 90% of it is lewd. The entry furs, probably their first fur meet, or at least one of the really early ones that they've gone to. Totally overwhelmed by all of the suitors, desperately wants to be everybody's friend, has literally no idea the amount of shit they're about to walk into by becoming a furry. The experienced furs, been to the meet a lot of times, very much knows their way around, has their own little circle of friends, they don't tend to mix much out of it, secretly laughing at all of the basic furs for their naivety and what they're actually going to be like in a year's time. The photographers has more high-grade professional photography gear than a fucking fursuit photographer should ever have. Spends about 90% of their time swapping out lenses and missing a shot. Desperately trying to get the perfect shot of some fursuiter jumping. Never seems to actually happen though. Usually roped in into taking yiffy pictures of the fursuit fuckboys. The staff, always stressed and walking around very quickly, constantly having to remind people not to crowd the fursuit lounge unless you're actually getting change. Death stares anybody drinking an outside beverage in the venue just in case we actually get banned. Usually has a megaphone that when they use, nobody can understand what the fuck they're saying. The music furs, usually got a little powerful speaker blasting out meme or weeb shit music. Thinks they are the absolute hottest shit on earth when they start dancing in their weird partial fursuit. Secretly likes to hang in their own group, but really wants to start a massive dance community, usually wearing like faux emo shit. The non-furs, only really here to drink because the meet was held at a bar. Turns out to see their friends, but secretly likes to judge all of the other fursuiters, thinking that they're above it. Enjoys in equal parts being part of the fandom and trashing it entirely. The gamer furs only really turned up to the fur meet because there were tables in which they could play poker or D&D. Sits in a corner, does not speak to anybody else, but games like fuck. The liars claims they're not actually a furry, but actually has a reference sheet for their fursona that they made as a joke. Claims that their friends dragged them to the meet and they're only here to look after their mate, but they're secretly loving every second. Keeps looking at all the fursuiters interacting with people and desperately praying that they get a hug, but is physically incapable of initiating it. Wonder who I might mean by this one. Look, bless him. Look at that, that's brass. Look at that little face. Isn't that just pure bliss? Doesn't he just love every second of that? We fucking converted him, people. The basic suitors. Just got a fursuit and has no idea what the fuck they're supposed to do in it. Stands around a bit awkwardly and confused, throwing up the same poses like, yay, look, I have a suit. Yay, look, I'm happy I have a suit. Aren't I fucking cute? Secretly just desperately trying to get used to the heat and hoping to God they didn't waste their money on a £3,000 full digi-suit in May. The millennial suitors usually got a partial or some obscure species no one would ever fucking recognize. Has a lot of in-jokes and spends a lot of time throwing up obscure memes to normal memes that we all kind of understand, but it's the only way they communicate. Includes a lot of posing for different photographers, an insane amount of posts to social media throughout the entire day. The lack of personality suitors. Literally no point to them having a fursuit whatsoever, apart from to fill that void where their social skills should have been. You'll find them just standing around awkwardly, or trying to join in with a conversation but they're in a full fucking suit, or trying to have a drink but they're in a full fucking suit, or usually just posing for a photo shoot, which they've had every single time, so they can get yet another photo to post up on Twitter and try and get a following for, well, no fucking reason. The fuckboys. Bought a fursuit for the entire reason of being kinky in it. Always rocking that harness. Got those shady eyelids going on to look flirty all the time. Constantly having photo shoots with people where they get a little bit touchy-feely. Has an after dark account that seems to cross the laws of nature a little bit too often. The performers have the entire voice nailed down, all of the character traits nailed down. Very method way of acting. Never breaks character when they're in suit and gets super butthurt if they are recognized out of suit as being that suitor, because in their mind, they failed the illusion. The Dutch Angel Dragons. Saw some videos of Telephone and Sniper and thought, oh fuck it, that's so cute, I could totally do that. Does nothing but squeak in fursuit. Thinks that everybody loves it, thinks that they're good at it, totally fucking wrong. Very cutesy and naive in fursuit, but also a little bit generic. No other suitor really knows how to interact with them, apart from other Dutch Angel Dragons. The Freaks of Nature. Has a full digi-suit, but spends the entire meet sprinting and jumping around. Bounces off of things all the time, as if they've got no regard for the fragility of their fursuit. Overheats like fuck, but never seems to actually get thirsty or hungry. Meets a hell of a lot of people, but doesn't actually really talk with any of them. Secretly a tiny bit lonely. Dies a lot when they've desuited. Oh, there we go. Fuck it. It's quite the summation of different furries that we see in this community. Maybe we could use it as like a bingo card. Take it to a meet or take it on your furry voyage around the fandom and see how many you can tick off. And if you get like a full house or you fill up in a line, you can get a prize. You can buy me a copy. You can buy one of my t-shirts. How about that for a fucking prize? Yes, by the way, don't forget I'm selling t-shirts now and I don't give a shit about my fucking dignity. I will pluck them like fuck. Buy these shirts. Buy those fucking shirts because they're beautiful. Okay, that's the video pretty much done. We're gonna cut now to my little head bobbing entrance, but there might be some t-shirt stuff over it, so buy them and maybe I'll tone it down a little bit. Christ, these fuckers are really gonna suffer when I start piling on the advertising for Patreon.